I had a few comments on a video I just did recently about David Paulides and how he lied about an incident that I was involved with, the search at Craters of the Moon in Idaho, where a couple of women got lost. I was involved in that search as the field observer. So I was free. I was there for well over a month, walked several hundred miles. I know the entire story. And he tries to paint a picture that there was something nefarious going on, kidnapping or something like that, that the Park Service is not cooperative, that they withhold information. And he makes money off of that when it's all, he's a flim-flam man. He's full of it. It didn't happen like he said. He's making money off of, well, I know the family of Amy and Joe Dean, and they haven't made any money off of the death of their kin. In fact, they had to spend money to bury them and to recover them, all that kind of stuff. Yet here's somebody out there making money off of it as if he knows something. Anyway, all right, my name is Dan Paulson. Welcome to the video. I'll post a link to that video below, but in this one, what I want to do is talk about his techniques. When you listen to him verbally, there should be some things that alert you, but I'm going to tell you right up front, you're going to have the right kind of cognitive brain skills. Not many people catch this. Let me just put it to you this way. Look around the world at how many people believe in conspiracy theories, or something, Egyptians couldn't have built the pyramids. There must be a lost civilization. The earth is flat. This big mountain over here in Wyoming is evidence of a giant tree stump. The Smithsonian is keeping secrets from all that kind of stuff. Jesus is coming back any day now. People are more inclined to believe that than that people just work hard. All right, so you're going to have a brain type that doesn't do that. You're going to be the brain type that you might go down rabbit holes. I have gone down a lot of rabbit holes. But when you go down there, you learn, you watch, you observe, you ask questions. And if you got the right kind of brain type, it'll fall apart. You will leave. That's okay. That's how we learn. That's how we figure it out. I've been down all these rabbit holes too in life. But at some point you ask questions and people are just trying to bullshit you. All right. Now, because of that brain type, let me tell you how you would observe that in yourself. I will tell you how it works in me. And I'll tell you we're born with different architectural brain types, okay? There's a difference between the human who says, well, I don't know, with any degree of sophistication, if we can apply some sort of cognitive processes to the person over there that says, shut the fuck up, you stupid motherfucker. Okay, those are two different brain types right there, radically different. One of them is going to be prone to believing Paulides. One of them is going to be prone to questioning Paulides. Which group are you in? Okay, this is how you're going to see the cognitive process in yourself. First of all, you're going to have a life where people have probably told you think too much, let it go, all that. Meanwhile, your brain is just doing what it naturally does because that's what it does. It also, when it hears things, it processes as it hears it. It doesn't just take the story and go, okay, that's what I heard, let's go. The brain types are meant to respond. That's what I'm told, let's go. There's fewer brain types that process and go, is that the right information? Is that right? Here's how you're going to spot it. I was a kid the first time I heard the tortoise and the hare, Aesop's fables. And at the end of the story, the teacher says it's slow and steady that wins the race. In your mind, you instantly revert to something like, how come it isn't when you're almost finished, don't quit? You're in Sunday school and you hear the story about Jesus and the fig tree, the disciples on the road. But you're not just listening to the story and watching it like it's on a screen. You're playing it out in your mind. It's like you're there. You hear the footsteps, the sandals on the dusty road, and smell the dust and feel the heat coming down on you. You're right there with them. You're not just watching the story. You're in the story. Your brain works that way. You can't do it otherwise. And as soon as Jesus kills that fig tree, because he was hungry, he commands it to die because it was not producing figs out of season. In my head, in my little kid head, I reach over and smack him in the arm, pow, because we're buddies. And I say, Jesus, if you had the power to make that die and you were hungry, why didn't you have it become heavily laden with figs? Okay, your brain is going to go to places other brains don't. They can't do that. You can't stop doing it. That's a difference. That is important because it's really important to know what you're up against when you're trying to teach reality to people who do not want reality. Okay, because of that, there's something that I mean, you get a lot of details. There's something in a video that he had right up front that he's going through, and there's this kind of a weird pattern of speech that he has going on that just sounds wrong. It gets my attention. Let me play this for you, and what does it sound like to you when someone's talking like this? I'll play a couple minutes here.
Tell you about two ladies, Amy Linkert and Joe Elliott Blakesley. Amy, 69 years old, and Joe Elliott, 63 years old. The date was September 23rd, 2013. A little bit about each person I think it's important to know is because I think it plays into the story of these people. So Amy was raised in Minnesota, a place called Rosemount, and she went to Wartburg College, and she was at one point a missionary in New Guinea and in Cameroon. She was a special ed teacher in Minneapolis for many years. She moved to Boise about 7 to 8 years earlier than when this happened. Continued in special ed. She retired about 3 years earlier, and part of her retirement present to herself is she bought a camper. And she was going to tour around with it. Her friend said that she was an excellent painter. So Amy spent an entire life giving back to the world, helping people, helping kids, spreading the gospel in her words. Joe Elliott Blakesley, raised in Mountain Home, Idaho. She got her BS and MS from Concordia University, and she went to the University of Washington Medical School. She was a physician. She was in private practice for a while, and then she was a clinical professor in Washington and California. She did a medical mission to Cameroon with Amy. She was a Navy Reserve officer, and she retired as a commander. She was a very giving person, and she was somebody that just prior to this, she was working for the Idaho Department of Corrections as a physician.
All right. I'm familiar with the case, of course, because I was on the ground, so I know things about the women to begin with, but there's something about this whole thing he did on both of them that just set me wrong. There's something wrong about it. There's a couple of elements that were like, whew, something's not smooth. It's forced. There's acting. There's something happening here that isn't quite right. I wanted to look at it. And the first thing off is listen to this part right here again.
Tell you about two ladies, Amy Linkert and Joe Elliott Blakesley. Amy, 69 years old, and Joe Elliott, 63 years old. The date was September 23rd, 2013. A little bit about each person I think it's important to know is because I think it plays into the story of these people.
All right, so right off the bat, what I see here is an act. Number one, the date that he mentioned right there, that was the date that she died. And so right off the bat, I catch that. And he says something about, it's important for people to know, some things that it's important for people to know. And me, I'm thinking to myself when I hear that, oh, he's got some kind of insight. He's got some inside information. He's obviously investigated. What does he do? And what does he do is he goes right into this kind of it's a slightly halting, and there's something else he's doing. It's not a nervous tick, but he starts doing this eye kind of glancing like this. It's very subtle as he pauses and he's thinking. All right, what is he saying? Let's listen to this again. What is he actually saying?
So Amy was raised in Minnesota, a place called Rosemount, and she went to Wartburg College, and she was at one point a missionary in New Guinea and in Cameroon.
Here, I'm going to go ahead and take a look at something. This is Amy Linkert right here. So, get to the right page. This is her obituary. What does it say? After graduating high school in Rosemont, Minnesota, she attended Wartburg College in Iowa. Following college, Amy's desire to aid others led her to the mission field in New Guinea as a teacher for 4 years because of her knowledge and compassion. Amy became known to them as White Angel. She lived up to this title throughout her life. In the early 1980s, she served in the mission field in Cameroon and taught art for 4 years. All right, so what is he doing then? What he is doing is right there. He's got notes off camera. I got mine right here. I can sit here and put that on my screen and have you and read it and not put it up for you to see. In fact, here, let me do it right now. There we go. I'm looking at it. And then I just go like this. Well, she attended Wartburg College in Iowa. And later, she served as a mission field to Cameroon. And she became an art teacher. What he's doing is he's grabbing bits and pieces of the obituary and making it sound, and all he's doing is he's rattling off obituary bio information in a manner that is somehow delivered in a way. He doesn't say it, you can't catch him in a lie, but the intention is to fool people into thinking he knows something. What's he doing? You go to any other video about these two, and you're going to hear them say, following college, Amy's desire to aid others led her to the mission field in New Guinea as a teacher for 4 years. They're not going to do what he does. Well, Amy went to college for 4 years, and then after that, she became a missionary in the field in New Guinea. You see the difference there? He's trying to make it sound or look like he knows this stuff. He's an actor.
And they found a body, quoting now, in a very nasty piece of land amongst the craters and the rocks.
All right, in this segment, I've sampled one of his videos. Here he is out at Craters of the Moon, and I love this because I instantly recognize where he is. And you know where they were found? Out in that flow behind him. Several miles. What I'm going to point out is this right here. He's standing on the Tree Molds Trail, but not very far along. You see he's elevated up above. So at first when you park by the butte, you start hiking along the trail and you go up on all of this big cinder. You can see to the right down there behind him. You can walk through that stuff. It's big, it's deep cinder. It's all crushed cinder, and there's stuff growing through it. When you get out far enough, it gets broken up and it's no longer cinder. The vegetation can't grow in. There's a lot of different things out there. But right behind him, oh, no, not behind him. If I'm standing here filming him, right behind me, if he looked up at us, over behind us and slightly to his right would be the big cinder cone. And he's on the Tree Molds Trail, and he's right by the cinder cone. Now, when Amy and Joe, they were up probably another mile. Well, we don't know. They were farther up the trail. He's not yet where the tree molds are. He didn't go very far. He just went far enough up there to create the illusion that he's somewhere deep in the park. He's not. Here's what happened. Amy and Joe got out in that lava looking at things, but they weren't very far off. It doesn't matter. You can get back to the butte easy. However, what happened is that weather moved in, fog moved in, they experienced a whiteout in this material, in this conditions, and they couldn't find the butte. They couldn't see the butte. When you're out there in that material, you get steered by that terrain. Look across behind him. You'll see a low mountain range. It's brown all the way down to the black. Right between those two lines right there on the far side is a highway. And from here, when it's quiet, you can hear cars across that road over there, going on that road. It's the only way they had a sense of direction. And the reason they were out there is because they were dying. They were trying to get to the road. They were freezing. The weather was moved in. They couldn't survive. They had to move. They were doing their best to live, and they didn't make it.
They had found Joe Blakesley. And both deaths were attributed to dehydration and heat exhaustion.
Okay, I pointed this out in the other video as well. This was fall. It's in the high desert. It is not hot like that out there. They froze. They died of hypothermia, not of heat exhaustion and dehydration. Both of them had been dehydrated, but that's from being out there exposed to the freezing, dry desert air. You go out there and hike around, and within a couple of days, your lips are cracked and bleeding, and your hands are cracked, and you got to keep so much lotion and moisture on. It's very severe. That was it. But to say that they were heat stroke, what did you research? Hypothermia. Wow. How wrong can you be?
I filed multiple FOIAs with the Park Service asking them for medical information, coroner's reports, condition of the body. They wouldn't give me any of that.
All right, you should be able to look at someone like that and just look at him and say, who are you? Who do you think you are? I filed multiple, and they will not respond. Yeah, okay. First of all, during the event was a furlough. You didn't file any reports. That is not the case. I don't believe you filed reports afterwards either. And if you did, the Park Service, if you're filing Freedom of Information Act to get information, to get a coroner's report from the Park Service, why are you doing that? The Park Service does not have the coroner on staff. The coroner is in the county, city, wherever they are, whatever municipality or country or whatever the case may be. Yeah, you'd have to, well, I don't know about different countries, but here in America, and in those cases right there, the bodies were taken. Were they taken to the Park Service to bring into the gift shop to examine to see what happened? Hell no. They were taken to the county coroner's office. That's where you get the information from. What are you even trying to tell people here? You're trying to make it like the Park Service is preventing you from having information when you're asking them for information that they don't have, number one. And number two, what are you asking? Let me ask you a question. Let's say your wife or somebody in your family dies, and I file a Freedom of Information Act telling you to tell me the condition of their bodies. There's going to be some protections out there. Now, the coroner released that the women had passed on due to hypothermia and had become dehydrated in the air. That's it. That's the truth. You didn't file anything. And you're trying to make everybody else, he should sound like just like he's like a gorilla pounding his chest someplace. Yeah, you didn't do anything.
Frustrating? Huh. I cannot tell you how I felt while this was evolving and I was filing these reports. The people I work around all knew that there was a cover-up going on.
You know, I have to admit here that this actually kind of emotionally irritates me to hear him say that. He's very disingenuous. He doesn't give a shit about anything but himself, and he didn't file any reports while things were happening. If he did, there would be records of it, but at the same time, it's a government furlough. I can guarantee you there's no low staff member someplace in an office filtering Freedom of Information Act requests and making sure they're taken care of. It's a government furlough. You come back in a month. He wasn't doing anything like that, and he wasn't irritated. And the group of people, these are fallacies. The people that I'm with all knew that who is that. Who is that? Your brother-in-law at the bar? Those are easy things to say. They're all anecdotal. Those are things people take and listen to and go, oh my God, this guy is just, whew, listen to all that, what's going on. Meanwhile, you're sitting there going, what? Wait, processing. That doesn't work. It really, as I process it through and it goes through all the filtration system, guess where it comes down to? The bullshit side.
And they didn't want us to know what was happening or how these women could have vanished in this area.
Nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing was being withheld. There's a small group of people there desperately volunteering without pay, trying to solve that we felt bad. We felt bad for the family. They were heartbroken. We were heartbroken. David Paulides, you'd be kicked off the search team.
I probably read 30 articles about it. And I can't tell you the number of times that friends implored that the women would never leave the dogs for more than an hour. They thought they would never, ever go more than a mile down the trail. And the thought of going off trail here is horrendous.
All right, now saying that he's probably read 20, 30, however many, articles on something, 30 articles on something that talks about this time frame, this limiting time frame. When you look at newspaper articles, you'll find that one of them prints the article. They don't all send out their own reporters. They'll grab each other's, they'll pay for each other's articles. The same article gets printed over and over again. So you're going to find the same information. But I guarantee that 1 hour and that 1 mile time frame is not accurate. They were limited because of their limited physical capacity. But it wasn't fixed like that. They put water, a bowl of water, and cracked the window in the truck for the dogs, and it was a cool day. They knew it would be safe for them to leave the dogs for a while. And getting to the tree molds, you have to get over that spot where he hiked over and go a little bit further beyond. He wasn't even at the tree molds yet. It's at least a mile up, or maybe 3/4 of a mile before you start hitting the tree molds. Once you start going up the tree molds trail, you've got to get over that big piece of butte right there first. There might be tree molds in there, but they'd be buried under all the cinder. So, and then also you would get off trail because a lot of the stuff in the lava out there that is broken up, you won't get into that. But a lot of the flat lava you'll walk out into, there's big formations of like rope lava, things like that, things that are going to get your attention and take you off trail. You're going to want to walk off trail, not just walk on that trail and not leave that trail. There are some cool things to see out there that they went out there to see, and it'll take you off trail. And if the weather sets in, you lose sight of the butte. And the only way out is to go where the sound is if you don't have vision.
These lava rocks are super sharp. They could tear your boots up. I wanted to know the condition of these ladies. What were their feet like? What were their shoes like? Because to go as far as they did in these areas had to be horrendous.
I wanted to know what the condition of these ladies were. What are you, morbid? I want to know how shattered, how beat up. I want to know what they're like. I get to know. Who are you? That's just so ridiculous that people believe that you're sending freedom of information requests to the park and requesting things like that. It isn't. I will tell you exactly what the coroner released. Their knees and hands had been cut up. They both died of hypothermia, and their bodies, Amy, slightly dehydrated. She was found early. Jodine, out there over a month, exposed to that air, severely dehydrated. That's it right there. That's what the coroner released. They were crawling through that lava, falling, stumbling, freezing. Amy was using sticks. She passed away first. Joe continued on, leaving her, trying to go to the road and not making it. And that's it. Amy was found wearing a t-shirt. Joe was found with her t-shirt like it was pulled up over her head like this. She was snuggled up like this with her jacket folded up on the side and her glasses set on top of it. What does that tell you? Somebody that deep in hypothermia, you're not reasonable anymore. It just something isn't quite right. People dying on mountains have been known to be stripped out of their jackets and warm clothing and having a sleeping bag nearby because something just disconnects in the brain. If you don't catch it quick enough, you stop feeling the cold and things don't function correctly. That's what was happened. That's evident. It's evident that is what happened to them. Evident. But it doesn't sell books, does it? It doesn't sell conspiracy. So you don't accept that. You don't accept the truth because you don't make money off of that. What does that tell us about you?
My other question is that they had hundreds of searchers in these areas. If either one of these ladies were there and alive, they could have been yelling and screaming for help, and they should have been heard. But nobody heard anything. Helicopters never saw anything. Which I don't understand.
All right. This is easy to understand. They died the first day. They passed away that evening. Sometimes throughout the evening, they succumbed to hypothermia. They never made it to the road. So they never yelled to anybody. The helicopter didn't find them in all that duration because the furlough. The helicopter was there in the beginning, found Amy. Furlough happened before Joe was found. Furlough ends, helicopter returns. Within a day or two, finds Joe Dean. The helicopter found both of them, but the helicopter had to be there. That's easy to understand. There's nothing nefarious there. But what he's actually doing is, it's part of the conspiracy theory mindset. You create these could be. Is it this? Is that possible? And what we have going on right here is the idea that somehow they disappeared. Nobody knows why. They wouldn't have left. Why were they gone to begin with? Why were they off the trail? Why were they out where they are? Amy was found. Joe was never found, but reappeared later. What happened? When actually it's much simpler than that to explain. He tries to make it just sound like a complete conspiracy when actually it's a couple of ladies got out, took a walk, got off looking at stuff. Fog moved in, couldn't find their way, went across that big stuff you saw behind him and couldn't make it to the road and passed along on the way and got themselves cut up as they were trying.
So, when you look at this area, predominantly it's all extreme desert, extreme heat. All of this green area isn't actually green. This area is black with lava rock, black with lava rock. And then this is the desert area through here.
Did any of that stuff he just described right there, even if it was right, his map isn't accurate or something he's putting it out there, it doesn't help in any way, shape, or form. There's really just this pile of stuff on the table that's a general, here's a couple of things about it that somehow apply. This is the desert, this is that. He overstates the heat. We do snowshoe with a ranger in the wintertime. Yeah, it's you got there when it's snow. They froze to death. So, yeah, he's got some things you can just tell he's just making it up, and most people are not even going to question it. And on his channel, anybody that does question it, that's what prompted this right here. What happens to us? We get suddenly your comments are deleted and you can't even get to the channel anymore. You've been kicked off the channel. He doesn't want you saying anything. He doesn't want the truth out there. And when you know something different and say, wait a minute, that's wrong. Wait a minute, where's that channel? The whole conversation I had with somebody was gone. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Somebody else had that happen too. Anyway, I just wanted to point that out. If you go through it too, there's just a lot of arrogant ego commentary. I, yeah, alpha male, big shit there. You know what? That just doesn't fly with me. It actually makes me go, okay, I see what that person's about right there. But also, he just expects you. I mean, I've worked with people like that before, and they went places and they succeeded, but they knew how to. They were like this. This is what is common. The people that look for what is really there. I mean, people want it to be Bigfoot, little people, UFOs. He's on to all that stuff now. It's like, where did we go? Get the foil hat if you want to watch it. It's a rehash of old stuff. But what I want to say is this, that I have talked to people that had, the foil hats on Gaia people that were genuinely convinced in what they believed in. And I believe that in this case with David Paulides, he knows he's inventing things. He knows that it's all a show. He stops short of making commitments, but he gets all kinds of things out there going, flowing in the community of people that will, that are just really not the kind of people that look for reality. I like the sounds of that. And it appeals to that. You look at the popularity, look at who it appeals to. It's a lot. But, for those that know better and for those that can see through things, those are, hopefully this video is helpful in seeing, kind of some weird things there. And with him in particular, that when you watched him read that, when I watched him read that and I knew the family and I thought, boy, that is so shallow. What is that right there? And it dawns on you, yeah, that date right there is the day Amy died. He's reading, he's parsing from her obituary, pausing, and making it sound like it's knowledge that's off the top of his head that as he searches the depths of his memory. Yeah, There you go. That's what he's doing. All right. That's not all he's doing. Quite frankly, that whole idea of just continually sending requests to the Park Service, these FOIAs, and getting stonewalled back on it is just, he's going to fly with that shtick forever, and he's always going to get stonewalled on it because he's asking them for things they don't have, if he's even doing that. He might not even be filing anything. But if he does, it's no big deal. They'll just treat him like a crank and ignore it because we don't have that stuff. Go see the county coroner. Yeah. You know what, though? He's milking this because people are eating it up. Damn, what a world. All right, hope this was helpful to you to understand what... Well, rabbit hole tools. Take care. This is after the fact, just in case you hung around. You know what I just realized is that all of these missing case stories start out with the person's obituary. So-and-so was born in this place and this time and this kind of a family and went to this kind of a school, and from there they went on to this and then went on to that and did other things and went to that school, this school, joined this organization, marched to here, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's the obituary. That's how all of these missing persons shows start. That's why it should be easy to recognize what he was doing. It's replicating. It's a common motif. It just sounded funny from him because he delivered it so weird.